do you think that the opposition in some way this time set the narrative? For example, on caste census, the opposition set the narrative on what they claimed was their definition of nyay or justice. Even went to the extent of saying Samvidhan khatre mein hai, that if the BJP gets 400 seats, they will change the constitution. And therefore, the Prime Minister was forced in some way to respond that the government is actually responding to a narrative set by the opposition this time.
Well, you make up your mind. Either you said firstly that the Prime Minister is actually making up issues along the way, and now you're saying he's responding to issues.
No, he's making up issues to distract from what the opposition is trying to say.
No, look, the Prime Minister has every right to pitch the terms of the debate in any way they like, just as the opposition has every right to pitch it on the way they want to. That's the way elections are fought. The way it's up to the people, it's up to the electorate to accept which one is credible. Now the point is, the opposition finds itself that compared or when contrasted with the force of a Modi speech, they go on the defensive and then they start shouting blue murder, foul, you can't do that. Now elections are not fought by ticking the boxes of an opinion poll.
Sure, but they're not fought by divisive slogans either. They're not fought by divisive slogans either, sir.
When you're talking about Rojgari,
but they're not fought by divisive slogans.
The economy, etc. Those are issues which come across with the Viksit Bharat. Those are issues which come across with your track record. And there's nothing more compelling than your track record. And I think that track record speaks volumes. Having established the track record, you can then embellish it with attacks on the opposition, what they've said, etc., what they haven't said, or maybe even make a caricature of it. That's part of life. That is how elections are fought. And I'm glad that elections are fought like that, because elections in the end are also a carnival. It's not a boring exercise.
Sure. You're saying that therefore Viksit Bharat and track record of the Modi government, the Modi ki guarantee is very much the central theme
of this. It's central.
Okay, you're saying it's central. Then explain to me why does a headline come as it did this morning where the Prime Minister says the Congress is silent on Adani Ambani because the black money must have reached them. They must answer this, by which tempo it's reached them. Where is Viksit Bharat when the Prime Minister seems to suggest that if the Congress comes to power, then reservations will be snatched away from SC, ST, OBCs and given to Muslims? When he does that, then is he fighting on his track record or simply generating fear about the other side?
Why a headline has come is to ask the particular publication or the television channel concerned. I don't think the Prime Minister can dictate the headline. What you can do is actually take the totality of his speech and say, look, did he talk about the fact that development took place in this part of the country or not? Did he talk about the Modi guarantees? Did he talk about them? Did he talk about the fact that the architecture of welfareism in India has been established and made more transparent? Did he talk about the fact that the crooks in the system are on the retreat? Did he talk about it? Now, of course, it is the right of the editorial classes to pick up the new element. And this is what I'm saying about a prolonged election campaign. That, you've got to look for that novelty. The editorialists have to look for that novelty. And here they found him hitting out at, Adani and Ambani, or whatever it is, that whole thing is. It's a one-day issue. It's a one-day issue.
You're saying Ambani, Adani is one-day issue. It's not a self-goal in any way.
Well, you can go. We'll see whose goal it is. When the results come out, we can talk about anything. The election is not going to be resolved in the television studios. In 2019, it wasn't resolved in the television studios. In 2014, when Modi was appointed, when he was chosen as the BJP's prime ministerial candidate, I recall in your studios, there was such jubilation. Because they said the BJP has really, shot itself in the foot. They've chosen such a polarizing figure.
Not me, but there may have been others. There may be other political commentators who said that. But let me ask you this: 2014 and 19, since you mentioned it, 2014, Swapan Dasgupta was seen as an election for change. People wanted change. and Mr. Modi became a symbol of that change. 2019, it seemed that the election became about a need for a muscular leadership, muscular nationalism, again embodied by Prime Minister Modi. What is it in 2024? Why is it that we are not seeing that kind of enthusiasm, at least when one travels among crowds, that one saw to some extent in 2014 and 2019? Is it fatigue? Is it just that people have heard many of these speeches before? What's the sense you get? Is there a 10-year itch?
No, it's not a 10-year itch. What I think has happened, in fact, is that there is a certain confidence that the elections have been predetermined. I don't believe that that's a very nice thing to happen. But anyway, among a lot of people, they said, look, it's settled. Modi ji is going to become the prime minister. The question is whether BJP gets 300, 350, 400, whatever those sort of numbers are being played at. But the important thing here is that they are choosing continuity. The ship of India is sailing very well, smoothly. They want no disruption in it. And maybe that enthusiasm, which normally accompanies elections where change is the main criterion. Among all the elections, I think 2014 had the greatest amount of enthusiasm on the ground. You know, it was quite boisterous, raucous, etc. Because there was a thing about change, getting this guy in. You know, for a lot of people, Modi was not merely just a candidate. He was a project. And I think that project also came about it was manifested in 2019, when it was showing that leadership, determined leadership was a thing. And now India is in safe hands.
Right, because
India is in safe hands with the Prime Minister, whose track record is there for you to examine and see and assess.
Because it's interesting, what you say is an inevitability of the outcome may have led fewer people to get enthused about the election. Shashi Tharoor seems to suggest it's indifference. Now, one side suggests is there's an inevitability about the outcome that has not enthused people.
And the heat, you know, I think the election commission should actually examine whether, you know, having a 7-phase election, I believe the 7-phase election is very good for West Bengal. But a 7-phase election may not be the most ideal thing to happen for the rest of an entire country. So, I mean, maybe you have to, you know, we have to think about it. Maybe we must think about elections in winter as it used to happen. But various things we can assess all that later.